going to call the Police, Fire, and Civil Defense Committee together. Mr. Miller, we're just going to see automated license plate readers, also known as flock cameras. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I've called this committee meeting tonight in response to some growing citizen concern over the flock cameras, the ALPRs. And this time I would like for Chief Morgan to come up.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Is this not working?
Hit it again.
It's
Let's see if this works a little better without this falling off on me. Is that better? Okay, thank you. So thank you, Councilman Miller. Appreciate it. What I like to do here for the first part of this is talk about our automatic license plate reader system, which is colloquially known as flock camera systems. First of all, Flock is a brand. It's not necessarily the only one out there, but it is a brand of automated license plate readers. And what I would like to do is just give a little bit of information here on what Flock is in an objective tone without some of the emotion that's attached with it. So, first of all, what is Flock not? What Flock is not? Flock is not a video camera. It takes still pictures only. Flock is not a traffic control device, i.e. a red light camera or speed control camera. No citations are issued out of Flock camera systems. Like so many other places that have red light cameras or speed cameras. Flock system we have is not equipped with facial recognition. There is no facial recognition component attached to the Flock camera system. Flock is not gathering electronic data. A lot of information out there that every time you drive by, it's going to get your Bluetooth and your cell phone number and everything else from your vehicle. Flock does not gather electronic data. And Flock does not sell, nor does the Mount Vernon Police Department sell any of the data we have to third parties. So the data we have belongs to the city of Mount Vernon. What Flock camera is, Flock camera, again, as I said, is a brand of automated license plate reader systems. ALPRs is what we call them. Flock stores the images in a cloud-based network for up to 30 days. 30 days. And then it's on a rotating basis where those images, unless we pull them out of the system for a case, are automatically deleted. So it's a rolling 30-day cache of data that has pictures of cars. Can we have the picture up, Zach? So we pulled this off of our Flock camera system the other day. This is what a Flock camera takes. This is all it takes, is a picture of the vehicle and the license plate. This is on the West High Street Bridge, camera number 4. And it is one of our police vehicles. I didn't want to put anybody else's vehicle up there, so we just pulled one of our own police vehicles off of there. And this is what we get. Okay. The management system in the images, but the images are controlled and owned by the Mount Vernon Police Department. Accessible to the Mount Vernon Police Department and leads certified officers with a lawful purpose as stated in our policy. And what is leads? Leads is the Ohio version of the National Crime Information Computer, NCIC, stands for Law Enforcement Automated Database. That is a statewide database that we keep all of our license plate information in, warrants in, protection orders in, vehicle information in. So that is a system, and that system's been around for 30 plus years. That system, quite honestly, has more information in it than Flock cameras could ever have in it, and we also have that. To be on our Flock system by our policy, you have to be certified through leads through the state of Ohio to utilize the Flock camera data. What does Flock do for us as the police department? Flock is a tool. It is nothing more than a tool for law enforcement. It helps us in investigations, including missing persons, amber, silver alerts, recovery of stolen property, located wanted persons, and assists in investigations of other types of persons and property crimes. We have had over 40 direct positive outcomes because of the flock camera system since it's been implemented about a little over 18 months ago. And we have had numerous other leads. The thing about flock camera is it is no smoking gun. It will not tell us everything there is to know about it. We've had several cases where we've had shoplifters that have left a local business and they got a description of a vehicle and we were able to find the vehicle through the flock system. It aids in the case. Okay. How is flock controlled? Again, only unauthorized personnel who have completed mandatory leads training have access to the information. We have compliance training and system certifications that they must pass before they utilize the system. Personnel cannot browse the system at their leisure. Okay. Every search requires a documented law enforcement purpose, and the system is regularly audited for compliance. We have a lieutenant that is in charge of our training, policy, and compliance division in the Mount Vernon Police Department, and on a regular basis he monitors the activities on flock cameras. He checks to make sure that it is being used within our scope of the flock camera system and our policies. Improper use. What happens if somebody improperly uses flock? If you improperly use flock, you could be subject to criminal sanctions and or discipline up to and including termination. As of today, we have not had any compliance issues with our policy for any of our officers that use flock. So I would open myself to questions from you folks right now. Mr. Severance?
Yes, so just a question. I understand an officer has to log into the system,
Yes, sir.
so I'm assuming it captures the login, day, time, whatever, and who did it.
Yes.
And then if they would take any images off the system, do they have to report or log what images they took to anybody
I think the
else,
system,
or-
I don't know if the system, I'm not a user of the system. I'm an administrator. I don't use it on a daily basis, so I will be honest with you, and I don't tell you exactly how every intricacy of it is used. It is documented when we have hits on there, and that is recorded, yes.
Okay.
Is there a regular user in here that would be able to speak to what that
Lieutenant
process?
Lewis is here. I believe he's used it several times. He could probably,
would he be willing to explain how the
sure he would.
how the process goes?
Yeah.
7 minutes.
Mr. Mahan, you had your hand up second.
Yes, and this may be a question for Lieutenant Lewis, but when you type in, when you go to do a search, for instance, this picture of the cruiser,
Yes, sir.
how was this image pulled? In other words, did you search for license plate number 6, or did you search for MVPD, or did you search for, what was entered into the search to pull this image?
Specifically, I don't know how Lieutenant Young pulled this one up, but you can search the system by a license plate number.
Okay.
So Adam Boy George 1234, we can put it in there and it'll search by license plate number. You can also search by vehicle type or vehicle color or
Okay.
distinctive features. So say it was we know that's a white Ford Explorer, so we could type in white Ford Explorer, we could type in Ford Explorer, we could type in white SUV.
Thank you. I think that's very descriptive.
Ms. Keener?
What's the difference between these flock cameras and the cameras that we have had in place in our city parks for years?
Most of the cameras in the city parks are actually surveillance cameras that record video. Some of it is time-lapsed and some of it is segmented, so it takes a series of pictures to show a video picture. And we have had those cameras in our park systems and quite honestly in the police department and our public buildings for years.
And they record sound as well?
No, the flock
No.
cameras do not
No, I
record
mean
sound.
the ones that are in the city park, do those record?
I don't believe they do.
And how long is the data from those saved?
I believe that data is on a rotating basis when the buffer system is full so it could vary how long that data stays.
And do we know how long we have had cameras in the city parks? Was it
It's
from
been-
when Mayor Matt Starr was on council?
No, it was prior to that.
It was before that.
So it's been the entire 7 years I've been police chief.
I'll speak in on that. It varies based on parks as well.
Yes, we've added cameras to the parks over the years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Aerial Foundation Park, the cameras came online when we accepted the donation of the aerial park.
And I think the first cameras I believe we had were at Riverside Park. And they were put up because of some vandalism that happened over in one of the ball fields and some of the playground equipment. So that drove that.
Even a similar situation happened in the cemetery with vandalism as well.
Yes.
I see that Lieutenant Lewis is here, and
Yes.
perhaps he would
Lieutenant Lewis?
better be able to answer Mr. Jacklin's question.
I'll do my best.
I think this was actually, this was Mr. Severin's question, and I just asked if there was somebody that could answer it, and you were very kindly volunteered.
I definitely appreciate that.
When you get into the system, what does the searching mechanism look like? Are you going through,
So,
well, just explain, please.
yeah,
Thank you.
so it depends is really the easiest answer, but it depends on what you're looking for. Very first thing you're going to be prompted to do is put in a case number. If you don't put in a case number, you won't be able to search any further. Case number is generated whenever we have a crime reported to us. We'll pull that case number and start a report. Once we start that report, it'll also ask you for a reason. So it could be a disturbance, it could be shots fired, a murder, stolen vehicle, all that. Anything that would encompass that. From there, you put your time frame in. Within 24 hours is the most common search that we do, because we're looking for fresh occurrences.
Yeah.
Once we have all that information in, like this is car 6, one of our cruisers, we would have typed in car 6 on this, and it would have pulled up all the license plates there that have a big number 6 in them.
Would you have also been able to be like White Explorer, some blue
could've.
stuff on the side?
Yeah, we could have done White Explorer and blue stickers on the rear of it,
Okay.
or a top rack that would have kicked on that one as well. That would have been for. You could have used that for a hit skip vehicle. That's usually what we use it for, thefts and hit skips.
So just to be clear, you have to have a case number attached. Oh, sorry, thank you. Just to be clear, you have to have a case number attached to it before you can do anything.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So you have to have,
Something.
before you can actually search anything, you can put all the information in there, but you won't be able to generate any kind of information unless you have a call for service number or a case number.
Okay.
Both of them are linked to a record.
Okay,
So.
Okay.
thanks.
I apologize for calling such a short meeting on such, seems like a vast subject here. I did invite someone else to speak on behalf. Mr. Charlin, would you step up, please?
Thank you for your attention, folks.
Yes, thank you. My name is Scott Charlin, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the flock cameras. And before we start this, I want to say in no way, shape, or form are we disparaging the police department or their judgment. We understand they have a tough job. I just kind of want to make a case that mass surveillance is not the best way to make their lives easier. So, as you heard, flock cameras, ALPRs, they photograph every car that passes them. They record the license plate, yes, but also the make, model, color, vehicle condition, bumper stickers, aftermarket editions, as well as the date, time, and location, and usually store, as the chief said, for 30 days, but it can be kept longer. So to think of this as just they're reading your license plate is not accurate. So what's the big deal? As the chief mentioned, there's red light cameras, there's speed detecting cameras. Those cameras are triggered when an infraction occurs. These cameras are just watching you go about your everyday life. Same thing when you go in a bank, all right? You go in a bank, we understand there's cameras there. There's no pushback or giant meetings about these cameras because they don't surveil your every movement. They don't have a private company that then stores, tracks, shares, and has AI, has a computer analyze this data. The major issue with flock cameras is that the private company is storing and controlling this data. Can this company be trusted? They have a track record that's iffy at best. In December 2025, Flock left at least 60 cameras around the country exposed to open internet where anyone could watch them, download 30 days worth of video archive, and change settings, see log files, and run diagnostics. In November of 2025, a security researcher found Flock logins for sale on Russian hacking forums. Flock does not require multi-factor authentication prior to accessing files. I need multi-factor authentication to log into my email for work. All right. January 2025, over 150 ALPRs were found to have a crucial security flaw that allowed anyone to access their live data from their phone. We know this. Hackers will always be one step ahead of those trying to stop them. This can potentially put citizens' information into incredibly dangerous hands. Flock also lies about their products. April 2026, 4 months ago, Flock told Oshkosh, Wisconsin City Council that the systems did not create a pattern or heat map of an individual's movement. The very next morning, the city found out Flock in fact did this. Contract was immediately canceled. Flock told Loveland, Colorado Police Chief that federal agencies no longer have access to the city's ALPRs. Later, it was found out Flock had contracts with Border Patrol, Homeland Security, and Flock gave those agencies direct access to data. Boulder, Colorado agreed to give 90 agencies, so as the Chief mentioned, they share this information, which is perfect, they should. Boulder, Colorado gave 90 agencies access to their data, but a public records request revealed over 6,000 agencies actually had access. In May of 2026.
Scott, I'm sorry, but we've ran out of time for this and everything, but we.
Public hearing, which is published, and we have to meet at 6:30.
Yes, yes.
Public
Yeah.
hearing.
Because we have a published meeting at 6:30, we're going to have to cut this short.
because you know what
I would suggest if you want to continue.
I appreciate you being here.
Meeting later, just to schedule that, but for now, we need to move Mr. Jacklin with Land Use Development for a public hearing on Arista Villas joining the Mount Vernon New Community Authority. This is a public hearing. It goes from 6:30 to 7, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Jacklin.
So far I have one submission to speak. So if you would like to speak in behalf of, on the subject of, this is Arista Villas, joining the TIF or creating a TIF, new community authority, please come up. That is, if you'd like to speak on behalf of. We're going to start with 4. If you would like to speak against it. I'm assuming nobody's coming up for 4. 4, going once. You should do that. Twice. All right, gone. Against, please come forward. I have Don Carr.
Any announcement to read? Name? I swear to tell the truth.
I think
I'm sorry.
we have this address.
Just your name and address, and then you promise how many minutes?
I mean, yeah, 4 minutes. 4 minutes, and then we can extend.
Wonderful. Would it be helpful if I had a handout of the speaking?
Sure. Sorry, I can share if we need to. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Jacklin, and members of council. When friends started contacting me about the NCA and the TIF legislation, I can tell you that it was hard reading, hard studying, and researching the programs, and it was a challenge. As much as the news media has covered the topic, I realized and believed that there has not been enough detailed information presented to the public on this important legislation, including today the only 30-minute public hearing prior to a decision that you'll be making probably in the next hour. What I came to believe is that there is so much more harm known and unknown about this financial arrangement than there are benefits to the residents who you represent. We are putting a lot of faith in this representative who, to my knowledge, has never completed a housing development of this kind in Ohio. What if the developer pulls out of the project? The city is stuck holding the bag of debt and the street to nowhere. What if the new home buyers find that the additional property taxes of 10 mills is making it impossible for them to remain there? The LLC property owner, who represents a private capital venture equity company, knew fully well that his financial responsibilities would be what they would be when he started planning this development of 40 acres in 2023. The current LLC owner paid $430,000 for nearly 40 acres. If the 100 lots with homes are sold as shown in the rendering, his company is likely to bring in $35 million in sales, with a possibility of a net profit after expenses of $6 million for his company and investors. The question we should be asking is, why are we, the residents of Mount Vernon, contributing millions of dollars to a developer's building campaign? Many residents believe that the use of the new community authority tool should be used to generate funds to improve the surrounding streets and infrastructure of a development to help us all deal with the increase in population and road improvements. I'm guessing that every homeowner here living in their home today was built solely with contractors making the full financial responsibility and no sweetheart financial deal. Just because the state allows for the NCA arrangements doesn't make it a good financial program for the city. The 350,000 affordable starters homes that are being planned now feels less affordable to buyers with another 10 mils of property taxes hanging over their heads for the next 30 years. With the median family income at $53,847, that's last year, 2 years ago, $2,004, a 30-year mortgage payment on a $35,000 home is $2,200 per month. The take-home paycheck per week for that family will not make these homes affordable to many. I hope that with the public comments and emails that you may have received, it will convince you that this NCA application by the Baltimore, Maryland representative is not in the best interest of the Mount Vernon residents. May I go on? 10 seconds?
Yes.
Instead of spending $7 million for a new street for an out-of-state developer with no guarantee that he will come through with the completion, we should spend the borrowed funds on our current neighborhood streets and not wait 30 years to recoup funds spent today. Finally, please consider a motion to remove the emergency clause attached to this legislation. There appears to be nothing of an emergency here. I respectfully ask that you table indefinitely the legislation ordinance, or vote it down, or delay the vote to a date certain in August, and not allow the out-of-state owner of Vernon View parcel the privilege to join the Mount Vernon New Community Authority. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jacqueline, I believe we have a representative from Bricker Graydon here, and Mr. Carr has brought up some good points that I think would be good for the council to have information on. Whether this would be the time for that or not, please allow time for that inside this meeting.
Okay. Is there anybody who would like to speak on behalf of the TIF? NCA. I keep looking at the wrong paper. Is there anybody who would like to speak on behalf of the NCA? Is there anybody who would like to speak against the NCA? You could please come up. Yeah.
State your name and address, please.
I'm Dave Serino, and I live in the new Gilchrist Estates at 149 Plymouth Road. And my understanding, when my wife and I bought double lot there, is actually the residents that live there paid for the new Plymouth Road. I don't think the city paid for it. So I'm finding our neighbors to the west, I think it is that where this Arista's going in? The city's paying for it? The street? I'm really confused. The $7 million he just quoted?
I think would you guys like to take that one? I don't know. Can we
The future homeowners of that development are paying for it.
Okay, so just like we did. All right, a bit confusing. Thank you.
If you could state your name and address.
Sorry, I think I just messed it up.
That's all right.
Jennifer Showman, 200 North Edgewood.
You could just hold it if you'd like.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I thought it was too high, but.
Second Night Club.
Okay. All right, so as Mount Vernon continues to consider tax increment financing, so the TIF, and districts, and then growing what we currently already have, the Mount Vernon's new community authority, I believe there are several important questions that deserve clear public answers before any additional ordinances are approved. Ohio property taxes have become a growing concern statewide, with homeowners experiencing significant increases in recent years. Before adding another layer of assessments to new homeowners, the city should carefully consider whether these financing mechanisms remain appropriate and whether a greater share of the infrastructure costs should be borne by the developers who create these projects and profit from their sale. The city frequently states that growth pays for growth. However, in the case of entirely new residential developments, it appears that much of the cost of that growth is ultimately being borne by the future homeowners rather than the developers who profit from constructing and selling these homes. These developments are often marked as affordable or attainable housing. I know Arista Villas is doing that. I know Liberty Crossing, who you've already passed a TIF and NCA on. I also know that the median house is $300,000 to $350,000 on those homes, which is significantly more than the median value of the homes in Knox County, which was reported by Arista Villas, ironically enough. They're saying it's 174, and yet they're saying these new affordable housings are 300 and 350, and then we're going to tax them more. I think that's a questionable choice. When perpetual and long-term special assessments are added on top of taxes, the total housing cost seems considerably higher than many first-time home buyers may anticipate. I had some questions that I would like to have answered, and hopefully you guys want answers too. What evidence demonstrates that these residential developments would not occur without these incentives? I mean, before Liberty Crossing, how many developments had these incentives? I think most developments were built without them. So what is the evidence that shows that these are necessary? How much infrastructure cost is being paid by the developer versus future homeowners in the city? How do you approve tax incentives without being fully aware of the details? So when the gentleman spoke at the last city council meeting, he was very clear that the mill percentages were not set in stone. Also, no dates were set in stone. So when do these end? Do they never end? I mean, I know the Conshohocken Road TIF just got renewed for another, I think, 30 years. And then are passing these incentives, is that becoming the new normal? Is it, well, we did it once and we think it is okay, so let's keep doing it, and because now the developers are going to expect it? what measurable public benefit has previously been seen by the incentive, and has the city actually evaluated these benefits to justify the long-term costs imposed on the homeowners? And at what point does the continued expansion of incentive districts shift this financial responsibility from private development to individual homeowners? And I also, kind of on a sidebar, this situation kind of reminds me of the cattle dam. And I know that's a hot topic, and I know no one wants to talk about it, and you may not see the associations, but realistically, that case was a case of property owners not realizing their obligations that was in their deed. And then now you're having added taxes and added obligations adding to these new homeowners that they may not realize. And I think the city should strive for the same level of transparency when approving developments that include ongoing assessments that they should have been with the cattle dam. And also, you're gonna have 3 lakes, water retaining things on this new one. So I think it's in our best interest to make sure that whatever is in place is actually, you know, money is going to their maintenance so that we're not in this situation again. And so kind of on that note, I think that until these questions are answered, I would like to ask that City Council postpone these additional developments that are, all 3 are up for their 3rd reading. And I feel like we don't have all the answers to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you, I started out trying to write your questions down. Do you have them so I can take them? Like, do you have them in a written form? 'Cause I think you did ask some very good questions.
Sure. And I think I emailed people questions too.
I was going to ask you
earlier.
if those were the same questions.
I think the gist of them, I can't, I'm sorry. Not a my person. But do you want them now, or do you just want them in an email for later? Do you need them now for the meeting?
I mean, I can take them, and we can, if you're comfortable with it, and if the representative is capable of answering some of these questions, I can ask them.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody that would like to speak in favor of the Aristavilla NCA? Got it that time. You tricked me. Is there anybody who would like to speak against the Aristavilla NCA? Could you please come on up? And you can state your name and your address, please. You got to get the microphone.
Just a few comments. It's not that long. My name is Susan Homan, 21 Upland Terrace, Mount Vernon. And my question is, why give a tax incentive to an out-of-state developer from Maryland? You are speaking about a group who will level 40 acres of woods that is known as, in a community that is known as a tree community. By the way, most people that we spoke with before the election said they wanted this property to stay R1 because they did not want all the woods leveled. You are speaking of a group who will create a long pond larger than the cattle dam, and we know what caused that caused the city some problems. You are speaking about a group who, with this project, will possibly lower our home values. I believe this developer should pay a larger tax due to the problems that this project may cause the city. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak?
Are we going to have time for the
Yeah.
representative to answer some questions? Because I think there's been some information that should be clarified.
Well, then I should, offer the general public one last chance. Would anybody like to speak on behalf or against? All right, I thank you, everybody. And if that representative, I don't know who they are. Darby? Oh, there you are. You're behind the pole. If you could please come forward, Mr. Dooley.
Thank you, Councilman Jacqueline. I am happy to answer the list of questions that the resident provided. And thank you for all your questions and for weighing in. My name is Darby Dooley. I'm a public finance associate with the law firm Bricker, Grade & Wyatt, and I represent the city along with my team members as special counsel on these economic incentives. So it's our job to talk the city through the policy considerations, explain how these work, look for any traps in the contracts that any pitfalls that the city might run into when negotiating deals like this. We call them public-private partnerships because we are having a private developer construct public infrastructure, and that public infrastructure then gets dedicated to the city. So there is this partnership between private entity and the city. I can speak at a high level about this, or if you want me to just jump right into some of the questions that I wrote down.
Yeah, I would prefer if you jump into answering some of the questions that were posed, and I'll probably hop in here, if you could explain them in a way that I understand them.
Okay.
The answers, I would appreciate it.
Well, just let me know if it gets too much into the weeds. I think one of the more important questions that I wrote down is what happens if there's a shortfall on the debt. So there will be a bond financing that's like a loan for public debt, and that is going to be secured just like your house secures your mortgage loan. That public debt will be secured by the TIF revenue and the NCA revenue. TIF redirects taxes, NCA adds a special charge to finance that public infrastructure. So even though the revenues are generated from the property and securing that public debt, if there were to be a default and they can't pay that debt, it would actually be a third-party issuer, as we call it, usually a port authority. So think of like there's this outside bank that's not the city that loans public dollars for that public debt. And that default, if the loan goes unpaid, that risk is going to be handled between the port authority and the developer. And that's one of the reasons why deals like this are sometimes advantageous to a city if they're negotiated correctly, is that it allows the city to insulate itself from some of the risk of fronting those costs for public infrastructure itself. And so if the city were to build public infrastructure and take on the $1 million worth of debt, that would be secured by the general fund of the city. The tax dollars that are just coming in from all the different sources. Now, there are some complexities in that, but I think that that's important to consider, that actually the way this is structured is that the city is protected from the risk. So would you say that that made sense?
I understood that.
So another thing is that I heard is, why are some of these business terms still open? Why are we still negotiating this? Some of that is just a human problem. We have limits, and so we can only negotiate these things so quickly. There's an enormous amount of paperwork that's gotten us to this place, and there will be a lot of paperwork that will get us to the finish line. And so we did present a template to the city of what we consider a good contract for a deal like this, and it's actually informed by prior deals that the city has done that have been negotiated in large part by the mayor, who's done an excellent job negotiating for what we would consider some strong protections for the city. So there would be a limit on how much the developer can get reimbursed. There would be assurances that this is truly public infrastructure and they're not mixing in private expenses into that. So that's why at this stage there are still some open questions about, is it going to be 10 mils? We are authorizing up to 10 mils. We might authorize less. That's how much the developer's asking for. If the developer's asking for that, is there anything we can get in return? It's just going to be a back and forth for a little bit more time until we settle on final business terms, if we choose to proceed.
Mr. Dooley, can I ask you a question? If like having that ability to negotiate, does that help mitigate some of the risk that we found? I live in the Cattle Dam area. Does it mitigate some of that risk? Will the city be able to say, like, hey, you can't, like, that's not an acceptable retaining pond, like, you need a better...
The cattle dam is a very different thing. The cattle dam deals with the private stormwater system that is required of all new developments. Mm-hmm. And what happened in that case was the developer sold to a second developer who thought that they were setting up correctly but made errors.
Yes.
And so there have been lots of problems since that. That's something very different than what we're dealing with here.
Yes.
Which is the private roads and things like
I
that.
guess one of the questions was about overseeing if that would be in compliance.
Well, is that they will have to, to protect the private stormwater system,
Yes.
they will have to join the stormwater, they will set their private stormwater system up and sign a contract which will then be locked in the deeds of every property that, to make sure that gets paid for, to get that part of it. As far as the other public infrastructure that will be constructed here, the city's engineering department will have on-site inspectors every time they're building public infrastructure, whether it's the roads or the water lines or things like that.
Okay.
Can we just clarify the zoning on this property?
The zoning is R1.
And there were meetings to change that zoning, which would have allowed the city more authority over how that went forward. So the developer has come back with an R1 plan that fits the R1 zoning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted that clarified.
That you brought up a couple good points. I want to ask a clarifying question. I can't remember. One of the citizens referred to something hidden in the deed or lost in the deed. So the residents in this development will they'll pay their normal taxes. Then the NCA will add additional. It's not technically taxes, but it's similar to taxes on top of that. And then the citizens in this development, all the new citizens, not anyone else in Mount Vernon, will have to then additionally will pay into the stormwater. So we stack the cost of the home, the regular taxes, the NCA, et cetera. And we understand this is the private market and they are buying a product. The important thing is, how will the future residents know that I'm buying into all of this? I'm not just buying into the home, but I'm buying into the home, the taxes, the NCA, and the expanded stormwater. Are there way we can make sure that the residents know that?
Yeah, there is a disclosure process, and this actually dovetails nicely into some of the discussion about stormwater management and so forth. There is a recorded document, just like you record the deed for your home, that will disclose the NCA charge, and it will also, we have negotiated so that it will disclose the stormwater management fees of the city that exist, but this gives us an opportunity to have another recorded document. And when a document is recorded against your property, for those who haven't gone through the home buying process, you're going to have a title report when you buy a home, and that lists every recorded document. And there's going to be some sort of name in that list of documents that mentions charges. And typically when you're buying a home, that's part of your due diligence, is to look through those items and to evaluate, okay, do I want to purchase this or not? I also, my job as an attorney is to guard the city against risk, to make this as good of a deal for the city as possible, talk them through market standards, like what should the developer be paying for? What is a strong, city-friendly document? It's not my job to make their policy decisions for them. And a big important part of this, as you have discussed, is the cost to homeowners. We can only give estimates, and those estimates come with a ton of caveats, but you can look at what you think the assessed value of the home is going to be and arrive at that estimate. And so what you're really looking at here is a little over $1,000 a year. It could climb, say, up to like $1,500, but these are conservative estimates. And so you are talking about, that's for the full 10 mil, so it could be less. You are talking about, say, an additional month of rent a year, if you were thinking of it maybe in those terms. So that's the policy consideration on the table, is in order to foster the type of housing that you want in your community, in order to fund public infrastructure costs, which have skyrocketed within the last 5 to 10 years, what can you do to make those housing products more affordable in the initial price tag. And sometimes part of that analysis is maybe we need some additional charges on the property that act like real property taxes. So that was another question that I wanted to answer before we run out of time.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. I appreciate you coming forward and answering these questions, and I want to express my thanks to the citizens that came forward today and asked some good questions.
Thank you very much. And I can stay after for a little bit. I can't talk to everyone, but if anyone has a few follow-up questions that weren't addressed, just let me know.
That does conclude the public hearing. We did an official time limit, so we have reached that time. We're now going to move to land use and development with Mr. Jacklin. Discuss resolution 2026-78, disposing of property owned by the city. Mr. Jacklin.
I guess I just give the administration time to.
Yep, I got it from here, Mr. Jacklin. Thank you. There are 3 parcels near Ariel Foundation Park. Yep. There are 3 parcels near Ariel Foundation Park the city is no longer in need of during the development of the park. 3 homes were demolished and now turned over to the city in that process. These are city properties and in the city. A large part of that area is Clinton Township, but these particular pieces are in the city, and we own them. So we have no longer have need of them. They are 10 South Monroe Street. These are the addresses. 10 South Monroe Street, 101 Delaware Avenue, and 0 Delaware Avenue. They are buildable lots accessible to water and sanitary sewer. We feel that instead of us holding on to them and maintaining them in the spirit of development and affordable housing, someone else can take them and build a house on them as they once had. So that's about it.
Are we partnering with the land bank on this or with?
So what will
Waste
happen
Store,
is these will be upon the execution of this legislation. Per the Ohio Revised Code, we will take this to public auction. There are rules regarding the disposition of real estate in Ohio. We will take this to gov deals like we do with anything else. Now, typically, when we utilize gov deals, we're using, just old cars or things like that. This is real property, real estate. So we have to do about a 5-week auction, I believe. Is that correct?
We have to do 5 weeks of notification, whether the auction does not have to go on that long.
Okay.
I mean, if you were to do a regular auction like Mr. Ruckman does, it'll be, over in, 10 or 15 minutes. But we can open the auction
Or his
for as
head
long
to get him out of
as.
the room, but, all right. So this will go on gov deals. We'll talk about the terms of that upon the execution of the legislation. We'll talk about the terms of how long we'll actually put it on. But we did get market comps for these. They go from anywhere from about $12,500 to $15,000 to $18,000. Some lots are bigger than others, but we wanted to utilize those comps. That way the taxpayer is, as it is city property, is getting the best deal. So we'll market that based off of those comps. We'll set the limits with those in mind, and we'll move forward from there. And after the market closes, to Ms. Keener's point, whether it is the land bank, as the land bank has been building a lot of those Welcome Home Ohio houses in this area, whether it's a land bank or somebody in this room, it doesn't really matter. We just want to see it back to use, and given its proximity to Ariel Foundation Park, Columbia Elementary, and the bike trail, we feel like it's a good opportunity to grow that neighborhood.
Could you briefly explain the benefit of why, like, the emergency clause on this?
I mean, if it were, we have interest already in the community.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to wait, it would just arbitrarily wait for 30 more days.
Okay.
And then we would have to start the 5 weeks.
And then we would start 5 weeks. So if you want to wait, be my guest. It has been floated that we could meet twice a week like the commissioners, and then you'd never see another 3 readings and emergency clause again. If you're game, we are too. We're here every day. No? All right. Didn't think so.
Game. I mean.
Dale's retired and he's ready to make you pay for it.
Yes, Mr. Jackson?
No, that's it.
Okay, we're going to adjourn the Land Use and Development Committee, going to move now to another Land Use and Development Committee. I'm sorry, we're going to move to Mrs. Hager with Parks and Recreations on ordinance number 2026-27, establish a cremation scattering garden.
Council,
Mr. President, we're all having a very hard time hearing you out here, so.
You can't hear me?
No.
Oh, it's off. It's off.
There you go.
Use my teacher voice.
There you go.
Okay, let me say that again. We're going to move now to Parks and Recreations of Mrs. Hager. Discuss ordinance number 2026-27, establishing a cremation scattering garden. Mrs. Hager.
Council, does anyone have any questions about cremation or scattering garden? Or scattering gardens? There it happened. Dina. And sure, Stacy. Does anyone on council have any questions about cremation or indigent, like how you qualify indigency? Does anyone have any questions about this?
I think it'd be
Councilwoman
good
Hager.
to hear the current process and how this would change
Yeah.
that process.
If I could.
Sure.
This piece of legislation does a few things, actually. So we have, and council, you all have, and I distribute this to the media as well. You all have a copy of an area in Mountain View Cemetery that we're looking at in particular. But this piece of legislation, this ordinance, establishes is an authorization to establish a scattering garden within the Mountain View Cemetery. And then additionally, it authorizes the disposition of indigent cremated remains therein and establishes the procedures for how we do that. So first off, what is a scattering garden? Right now, the policy for indigent
Remains.
interment
Yeah.
is cremation, and then we take the cremated remains, or cremains, if you will, and we bury them in the ground. All right. A scattering garden is growing in popularity throughout the country and in Ohio. Is an area, and it can be a curated field, or it can be like a rock bed that has some drainage underground, where you dispose of the remains, you scatter them. It is exactly how it sounds, and I'm trying not to be so blunt about it, but you scatter the remains and they return to the earth.
Okay. So, will this be a?
Go ahead.
Will this be a well-maintained? You can't hear me. I'm sorry. I have a soft voice. Will this be like a maintained or manicured area? Because I don't like the idea of just walking back behind a building and just shaking a bag out.
Sure. That is not the goal. All right. So right now there are, if you will, travel with me to Mountain View Cemetery. Do you recognize, and public, if you would like to journey with me as well, with the, the area where the former office is, the main entrance there. All right. Behind that is a significant swell. All right. That is not without doing a significant amount of groundwork. There is no space, that is not usable space. We are not advocating for disposing of cremated remains in a ditch. All right. We are taking that area, number one, so the objectives of this area, all right, are to this portion of the cemetery presents an opportunity for, shall we say, aesthetic enhancement, particularly given its visibility from Worcester Road. Thoughtful landscaping on this site and improvements would create a more welcome and dignified appearance for one of the cemetery's most prominent frontages, and a substantial portion of this yellow square that you see is going to be designated for a native pollinator garden. Other sections of that in a more appropriate area, and we have secured a designer that does these kind of things, pocket parks and whatnot. They are looking at the possibility of utilizing spaces, and these spaces are typically no larger than a few traditional grave plots, to walk around and almost like small cul-de-sacs, if you will, along close to that Yoakum Road. That's where you would walk in, and there would be small sections made available to you to, dispose of more properly and more respectfully. Dispose of the cremated remains.
And can I just ask, we are still recording the individuals who
Yes.
would be placed here, and how will that be, registered for future historians? to know?
Absolutely. So that comes into another section of the ordinance, where we, number one, we are memorializing anything. This is not just for indigents. This is for anybody that would like to do this, from the wealthiest of whoever down to our indigent policy. This is an opportunity to build a monument wherever we determine the most appropriate place for the entrance would be. You would have a kind of like a small plaque that has names. We've talked about the opportunity to designate veterans if somebody were a veteran, and with the ever-changing, we've just recently added Space Force, and should a emblem or whatnot change for, or a logo change for a different branch, we talked about just adding a star or something like that to designate a veteran, and we don't want to do anything that would identify somebody as an indigent versus just somebody from the community that chose this. So, yes, so you're going to have a name, a birth date, a death date, and then some sort of signifier, probably just for veterans. But there would be a nice monument with name placards, and as far as our indigent policy would go, you would likely have the Mount Vernon police chaplains that would go out once or twice a year and do a scattering ceremony, and then we'd invite the public. Right now, let me give you kind of a coin flip to what we do now versus what this would look like. Currently, the indigent policy is set aside by the Ohio Revised Code to say if somebody, and I'm going to be rather blunt with this, if we walk out on public square and there is a deceased person on a park bench, they get a proper burial. But sometimes people take advantage of that. And what they hear is, hey, free burial on behalf of the taxpayer of Mount Vernon. And I look to Maureen, who was in here a second ago. We get these phone calls an awful lot, and they are wildly uncomfortable. And we often have to tell people, all right, this is how this is going to work. If we take an indigent, I feel that it's a trap, because if we take an indigent and accept them as an indigent, not only does the individual have to be an indigent, but the person surrendering the individual, they also have to be an indigent. And then on top of that, we have to tell them, not only do you have to fill out all this information, likely at the worst day of their life, but we have to say there can be no obituary filed, there can be no public ceremony, there can be no, and we have people all the time say, well, what if I do this, this, or this? It's like, no, we're going to cremate the individual, and at the next opportunity, we will inter them, and that's it, right? Because this is built as though this person has nobody to claim them. And really, if we were being hard-nosed about it, we should say, if you have the ability to come in and collect them, you have to pay for the funeral. So we have set the policy internally that if it's going to create a financial hardship for somebody, that is where basically we draw the line and say, we will accept this, but only at that financial hardship level. If we switch over to this style of disposition of indigent remains, that gives people an opportunity, not just indigents, but also people who may be at the end of life if they have had financial issues and can't afford a traditional burial. They're still having some dignity by being memorialized on this wall it's a nice, to Mr. Jacklin's point, we're not just letting it go. Like, this is a nice, beautiful space that people frankly just want to walk in after they go visit a loved one somewhere in Mound View, or just, people walk in our cemetery all the time just to see the sights. And then they would want to walk through this pollinator garden and spend time with whoever they've disposed of over the course of time. It's kind of a macabre thing. If that's your thing, whatever. But yeah, it just gives us an opportunity, and it doesn't keep a continual tax burden upon the city. That's not the primary reason for doing it, but it is a satellite reason for that.
I was a little surprised about 25 years ago when I first went on council, we had an indigent person who passed away in a different state. I think it was Indiana. And it was our responsibility to get that body from there over to here, have it interred, and it was a cost. There's a cost involved in that. And so this isn't going to change the moving of the body, but it will change the cost of some of these things.
It won't change our responsibility to cremate and to take care of an indigent. It will change the way that we handle the interment and disposition of the individual. It also, a question was asked about what happens, and we've had this instance a handful of times, about right now we hold the individual after they've been created. We hold the remains until the next time that we're able, typically until we have about 4 individuals, and then we can inter them. We inter all 4, not in the same gravesite, but we inter 4 at a time. What happens if somebody calls and they find out that a loved one has been, cremated, and they would like to claim them? This institutes a mandatory 90-day hold. Currently, there is no hold. It's just luck of the draw. If tomorrow's an interment day, you missed it. This creates a mandatory 90-day hold in the policy. The state of California, and I know this because there was just a very recent situation with our mausoleum, actually, has a very similar rule, but it's 30 days. And after 30 days, if they're a coastal community and you have not claimed I think you might know where I'm going with this. If you haven't claimed those remains after 30 days, they dispose of the ashes in the ocean.
Okay. Mrs. Hager, your time is up.
I have one quick question.
I just wanted to state that we're just talking about establishing this scattering garden. There's no legislation that says we have to do this. So I'm going to give it a second reading tonight, but I just wanted to make sure everyone had questions. They could get them
I just
answered.
have one very, very quick question. You said that the general public could participate in this.
Yep.
What would be the cost involved if someone from the general public decided that they wish to be interred there?
So if right now we're looking close to about $1,000, and that would mostly be for the perpetual care of the garden. And if you compare that to a cremation plus that $1,000 versus a traditional burial that runs you close to $10,000, that's a significant savings. I know end of life planning tends to cause some hardships for a lot of people. So
if you had cremated remains already in your possession and you wish to inter it there, you would just incur that $1,000 expense to have it memorialized.
And that would be that would be for the memorialization and the perpetual care. It has already been asked, and I'm not naive. What's to keep somebody from walking out there and just scattering grandma in the? And my answer to that is, what's from keeping them from doing that right now? And the answer is nothing, right? So.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks.
We're going to adjourn the Parks and Recreation Committee. We're now in recess until 7:30 p.m. If you want to speak on matters of public concern, please fill out the form and give it to the clerk. If you want to speak, we'll have a 4-minute time limit on those talks tonight. And please fill out those forms. So we are now in recess until 7:30 p.m. We'll begin the legislative portion of the meeting.
When you come back, please scoot in all the way to make room for the other folks.